Football is often described as unpredictable, but the truth is, most seasons feel predictable long before the first ball is kicked. We already know who is expected to win. We already know which teams are too small, not ready, or just happy to be there. Predictions are written, odds are set, narratives are decided, and somewhere near the bottom of those expectations sit the underdogs. Clubs with smaller budgets, squads without global superstars, teams rarely shown on posters or discussed on television panels. Yet, every few years, football reminds us why we fell in love with it in the first place. Because sometimes, those underdogs don't just compete. They rise, they stay, and they become legends. This is not about miracles. It's about how underdogs are built, and why some of them succeed when logic says they shouldn't. Underdog stories don't begin with belief from the outside. They begin with doubt. Most underdog teams start the season with modest goals. Survival, stability, progress. They are rarely expected to challenge the top places. Media previews often gloss over them quickly. Their matches are not promoted. Their players are not hyped. But that lack of attention creates something valuable. Freedom. When expectations are low, pressure disappears. Mistakes are forgiven. Losses don't dominate headlines. Players can grow without being judged every week by millions. And inside that quiet space, foundations are laid. Underdogs are often built from players who have something to prove. Footballers released by bigger clubs. Players overlooked because they didn't peak early. Professionals who never quite fit the system elsewhere. They arrive hungry. They arrive focused. They arrive grateful. And when hunger meets opportunity, growth follows. The first real turning point for any underdog is leadership. Not fame, not charisma, clarity. Underdog managers rarely chase perfection. They chase structure. They don't ask players to do what they can't. They ask them to do what they do best, consistently. Training becomes simple but intense. Defensive lines are drilled. Pressing triggers are rehearsed. Attacking movements are repeated until instinct takes over. There is no confusion. There is no guesswork. Every player understands their role. Every role serves the system. And the system serves the team. Just as important, underdog managers protect their squad emotionally. They lower noise. They speak calmly. They shift focus away from results and toward performance. Losses become lessons. Wins become checkpoints. And slowly, belief grows. One of the biggest misconceptions in football is that underdogs succeed because of individual brilliance. In reality, underdogs succeed because they eliminate weaknesses. Team chemistry becomes their greatest strength. Underdog teams don't rely on moments. They rely on patterns. Compact defensive blocks. Midfielders who track runners. Wingers who defend as much as they attack. Strikers who press instead of waiting. No one is bigger than the system. Because when resources are limited, effort must be unlimited. Players communicate more. They trust more. They recover for each other. The distance between defense and attack becomes smaller. Mistakes are covered instantly. This kind of cohesion frustrates elite teams. Big clubs are built for freedom. Underdogs are built for discipline. And when discipline meets overconfidence, surprises happen. Another key difference lies behind the scenes. Recruitment. Underdogs rarely win transfer windows. They win decisions. Instead of chasing names, they chase profiles. Players who fit the system. Players entering their peak years. Players with unfinished business. Timing matters more than talent. A player rejected elsewhere might arrive at an underdog club ready to work harder, listen more, and commit fully. In the right environment, confidence returns. Performance follows. Underdogs also avoid constant change. They resist panic. They trust continuity. Rather than rebuilding every summer, they refine. Small upgrades. Careful additions. Youth players introduced gradually, not rushed. These decisions rarely make headlines. But they build stability. And stability builds momentum. Momentum is where underdog stories truly come alive. It doesn't arrive suddenly. It builds quietly. A draw that should have been a loss. A win that wasn't expected. A clean sheet away from home. Confidence spreads internally before the outside world notices. Players start believing they belong. Fans begin to feel something special. The stadium atmosphere changes. Pressure shifts. Suddenly, the underdog isn't chasing. They're being chased. And that changes everything. Opponents approach matches differently. They prepare more carefully. They respect the threat. But respect can turn into hesitation. Underdogs, on the other hand, play with clarity. They know exactly who they are. However, every great underdog story faces a test. Injuries appear. Fixtures become harder. Media attention grows. Questions start being asked. Is this sustainable? Can they keep going? Will they collapse? This is where many stories end. But legends adapt. Managers adjust tactics. Rotations become smarter. Leaders step forward in difficult moments. Players accept responsibility. Mental strength becomes as important as physical ability. Underdogs that survive pressure do so because they never lose their identity. They don't chase style. They don't abandon principles. They trust what brought them there. And then comes the defining stretch. A series of matches where everything is on the line. A moment where belief becomes reality. A result that changes how history remembers them. At that point, labels disappear. They are no longer surprising. They are no longer lucky. They are contenders. And whether they lift a trophy or fall just short, something permanent has happened. The club has changed. Players leave as better professionals. The fan base grows. The identity strengthens. Future seasons are approached differently. That is what legacy looks like. Underdogs become legends not because they defeat giants once, but because they redefine what is possible. These stories matter because they remind us that football is not only about money, branding, or power. It is about structure, about patience, about people. In a sport increasingly driven by numbers, underdogs remind us that belief still matters, that unity still wins, that clarity can outlast chaos, and that somewhere, right now, another team is being written off, ignored, doubted, overlooked, but quietly, they are building something. And one day, we will call them legends. If you enjoy calm, thoughtful football stories that go beyond headlines and highlight the deeper side of the game, feel free to like the video, subscribe, and stay with the channel for more narratives that explain why football still means so much to so many people.